expected from those COLs moving on in the future. PD on Monday the 27th with Doug Finn. Doug will be coming back in. He will be working with departments during their departmental time.
There was an email about this. So we still have classes, but some of you may have subs for your classes so that you can meet with your departments if there's any kind of conflict.
And then most of you should have received hard copy accommodation plans via Kara today, which she is in the midst of now. ABC hyperlink list. Kara is working with all departments on these accommodations.
Okay, so that ABC hyperlink list, basically Jay asked me to take the list of every kid who has an accommodation plan and link it to that kid's name in another document, so that if you were to see this document, you can just click on the student's name and go straight to it. You can keep a copy of that document on your desktop, etc. That document is almost revised, that we had to find a few little areas to fix a few things up, but you should have that no later than the end of the week.
Excellent. The agenda today, we're going to start with Carrie doing a quick share out on how she does the proficiency scales in her classroom. I'm not sure because Jay's not here. I don't know about this redo policy. Matt?
Okay, so the redo policy, I sent a copy yesterday of screenshots from a Google form about the redo policy, making it electronic. A handful of people have looked at that form and made comments. I responded to a couple of spots, but there's still time for everyone to take a look at that. You would have gotten it from me yesterday somewhere around 11 or noon or something maybe. But please, take a look at it, read through what's there, check out the comments because you may share some of those sentiments with the people who've already commented. Check out the responses too, and then make whatever comments you can on that doc. It's a Google Doc with screenshots of the form in it because you can't share for commenting a Google form. It doesn't work the way that the other Google Docs work. But I have a feeling that first we want to gather all of that feedback from you about what's been shared there, and then the form will be revised to match the most useful feedback that we get, and then it will be put out to you again for a final once over. And maybe next week we'll talk about that. I'm not sure, but that's my understanding of it thus far.
All right, and then we're going to continue work with authentic assessments, and then at 9 o'clock we're going to have a share out from the summer reading group of Angie, Carrie, May, and Peter.
My colleague on the Professional Development Committee has reminded me that there was going to be a professional development announcement. Jason, do you want to make the announcement? I think you authored the text, so you might as well.
Yeah. Just a quick reminder, if you are planning on submitting a professional development application, or you hadn't thought about it, you're like, hey, that might be a nice idea, the deadline to get stuff to me so I can get it to the committee will be next Friday, so about 10 days from now on the 17th. The committee will then meet sometime between Thanksgiving and the winter recess so that all these PDs can be effective in early spring. But please, 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 the money's out there. And aside from the fact that it looks cool in our evaluations, we become smarter, it's a nice workcation. Any of these reasons are valid. The application is in the email I sent. If you have any questions, email me.
And there's money earmarked for each person if you avail yourself of it. But after a while, it's going to become, nobody's applied, we've got all this money, let's do something with the money, and it will start to disappear as the year ends.
And for the record, even if you've already applied and gone once, maybe you went in August, maybe you went in September, please apply anyway, because...
Some people won't.
Right, and also, those of you who are putting the initiative in and showing the effort and showing up and filling out those applications, that counts for something. So in a world where there's leftover funds because people aren't availing themselves, you know, if you want to take that advantage and say, oh look, I went to an AP conference in the summer, but man, now this is great brain conference or a great psychology conference or whatever, then fill out the application. The worst we can say is no. And just pro tip, if you look like you're cutting, not so much cutting corners, but like, hey, I was gonna stay, like I went to a conference the other day, and the conference hotel was like ridiculously expensive per night. So I said, look, I will find a cheaper hotel in the town and commute. Saves everyone money. And all of a sudden they're like, hey, that's a great idea. And that helped sell my proposal. Thoughts like that help.
So all of these slides that I'm about to show you, Jay shared with you, so we should be able to move through these quickly so you can actually get to work time. That is the plan here today, is for you to actually be working on aligning assessments. Next slide. So, I think we've all seen this before, the 5 key qualities to classroom assessment. Clear purpose, clear targets, sound design, effective communication, and student involvement. So this shouldn't be anything new for us, but we should all have this in our minds as we look at each of our assessments. Our assessment policy as it stands right now, and again, this is a guide. It is not meant to be the law. One summative every 2 weeks. That doesn't mean you can't give a summative every week. It just means that this is a guideline. One formative each week. I'm sure that math is having formatives every day. I'm sure in language there are formatives every day. I'm sure in all of our classes there's some type of formative going on. Formatives may remain a 0 in PowerSchool. So the formative is the sandbox. It's the place where students should fail. That is the place that learning goes on. If I don't know something before I start learning it, I hopefully am probably failing at it. All mounting evidence must be documented to align with standards. Everything should be aligning with a standard. Assignment and assessment descriptions with standards on PowerSchool learning. This is really key and important. The reason being is that a lot of people can just take a picture at a moment and go, wow, we're testing too much. That question comes up all the time. Everybody's testing. There isn't any projects in the school. Now, when someone says that to me, or they ask me that question, or they make that statement, all it does to me is I go, wow, are we? Let's look at the data. If you do not have these descriptions in PowerSchool Learning, you are leaving me with only one choice to find that data. Come and talk to you, actually observe you, see what you're really doing in class. So please, in PowerSchool, please label these. Give us a description. Give Jay a description. Give Matt a description. All assessments should follow the redo policy. Obviously, we're crafting that. And we will be getting, this is an older slide, but we will be looking at that redo policy. Next slide. This, I think Jay put this slide here. She wanted us to remember back to Mike, and Mike saying, oh, we're 19 today, the kid sitting there. Oh, look, I just counted 19. So this is an example of alignment and assessment policy. Numbers and operations in base 10. Compose and decompose numbers. I know you guys have all seen this slide. I'm not going to go through it completely. But moving forward from that, next slide, the alignment, I hope you'll see that there's an alignment in the EU, the EQ, the LT, the learning activities, and the assessments. Again, please take a look at these slides and look at this slide. Being able to count and organize things into groups. What is the best way to count? In a straight line, in a circle. Learning targets, compose, decompose numbers. I'm not going to go through all this, but as you can see, there's an alignment with that standard. From the formatives to the summatives. Everything needs to be aligned. It's wholly unfair, although done to us, I'm sure. I can remember my learning, where I was in class for umpteen amounts of hours, and then I was learning things, and I was learning all this stuff, and then I come to find out, on test day, it's something I've never ever seen before. And my teachers would laugh. They'd laugh at me and say, oh, well, you're responsible for all learning in this. Please, formatives should align completely with summatives.
One thing the grammar nerd in me just jumped to the front. All of those things with activity are necessarily verbs. So that's the stuff your kids should do. And that's what's in those LTs at the beginning of each one. Compose, record, classify. They should be doing that formatively before you ask them to do it summatively.
Thank you.
Oh, alignment.
Alignment. So Jay shared some examples. These are all different ways of making sure that that assignment actually has the target included. What is the goal? The students need to see the goal. We need to see the goal in each of these assignments. It should be understandable not only to the student, not only to you, not only to your colleagues, but it should be understandable to anyone who looks at the information. Next slide. Again, another example, Scott Butler. He's putting it directly in with the assignment. He's listing it, writing it out. Another example. Carrie Varga, in comments, so each assignment has a comment. It says exactly what they're doing, where they're going, what the attempt is for the student. And this is important for the students to be tracking their own learning. It is key for us to find ways for the students to be involved. And again, we've seen Emma's presented to us many occasions. Directly there, I can go in, I can look at Emma's, I know exactly what standard that student is supposed to be going for. Next. Okay, and then again, this differentiation slide shouldn't be anything new. There is differentiation. It's the response, the teacher's response to the learner's needs. But again, we get down into flexible and ongoing, continual assessment. We need to document that continual assessment. Formatives are the building of evidence for the summative. The summative should be anticlimactic. It should be, I got this.
And one other thing to think about with that is, if you give a formative and half your class can't do it, don't give a summative until they can do it, which means reteach as much as you need to leading up to that summative. Now, if they refuse to do it, that's something else. If there are other mitigating circumstances, okay. But if you need to use the formative to form your own teaching as well, because it's your communication dialogue with the students. If they're ready for that formative or that summative, great. But if they're all not ready, then help them get ready and maybe postpone the summative.
Okay, moving on. Okay, again, those 5 keys to the quality classroom assessment. Moving on, next slide. So, clear learning targets. Make those targets very clear. I know that we've had some pushback from students. I certainly have. Why are you putting those silly learning targets up there? I get that from my students all the time. But then I ask them, can you do that? Show me you can do that right now. Oh, I can't really do it. Make those learning targets clear so that they can achieve them. Sound design. You know, assessment methods aren't interchangeable. To ensure accurate assessment results, overriding criterion for selection of method is consideration of the type of learning targets to be assessed. So one size doesn't fit all. If you're reaching back into 3 years ago, I had a test for this 3 years ago, probably a good idea to take a look at it before you throw it out there to the student. If you've found a test online and you think, well, I got this test, please take a look at them, make sure they're clear.
One area where this could be maybe a little bit of, like, you feel like you're hearing counterintuitive directives. So this is saying that you got to pick the assessment that's right for the content or the skill. And then you're being told constantly, differentiate, differentiate, differentiate. And if those two things clash, I get it, you know, and I think we all get it. But the main thing to keep in mind is that 1 or 2 or maybe 3 approaches might work for this content, but not all of the possible approaches work for this content. So if you're differentiating, make sure you're picking within the range of things that are appropriate to what you're looking for and what the learning target is. So it doesn't mean that like we're giving you two different directives that are at odds with each other. It means that you're necessarily seeing sort of a Venn diagram of here's what I need to check and here's what the different ways you can do it. And within that overlap section in your diagram, Venn diagram is the two big circles and whatever overlaps is what they have in common. There's got to be more than one thing in common in most cases. Maybe there are some outliers, but in most cases you're going to find an ability to do it more than one way. That's where your differentiation should happen.
Next slide. So again, we should always be thinking this in our mind. How am I differentiating? How am I splitting my class up? How am I grouping them? Where am I starting and why? Really not.
This is an assignment.
Yeah. So, you have these papers that we've laid out that we hoped you'd gotten to last week, but we didn't have time. Today we're going to have time. So, in departments, choose one proficiency scale, highlight the verbs in both levels 2 and 3. What kind of learning targets are these? Knowledge, reasoning, skill, product, disposition. Create and write out one learning activity and one assessment for levels 2 and 3. I think the next slide is.
I think that's gonna be the next step after this. So I think this is.
This is step 1.
So you like Frank said before, everybody should have gotten these slides in their mail, right?
Yep.
So this link is available to you, or you can type it if you want to. But you're just as a department or the group at your table. Go there, find one, and do this right now. So at the end of, I don't know how much time, 10 minutes, maybe 15? 15. Okay, at the end of 15 minutes, we're hoping that you'll have all of this straight for one proficiency scale that you find there.